Hi, everyone. David here from Hard Rock Reverie. And I just wanted to come on today. I just feel like I need to do something to, I got to talk about that last show in New York and, talk about everything that's been on my mind about that. And, this is my new avatar look. What do you think? Will this be great for all my new videos? You'll never know a difference, right? Cool. Is that better? I thought so. I I I don't know. For some reason I was starting to crave milk and a hamburger. Anyway, so I did not do the pay-per-view thing. I I did go on YouTube yesterday, however, sat down and watched the entire last show in New York on December 2nd. It was taped. And I can't remember the name on the channel that I watched it on, but I believe it's the multi-camera version. Looked pro shot to me. There were camera angles all over the place and stuff. So um I want to talk about the show, what I thought of it, what I saw, what I wanted to see. Did I see that? Did I not? Even what's my overall feeling about how they said goodbye and stuff like that. I also want to go into some different topics related to that today, like, going forward, obviously, from here, which I definitely have at least some kind of thought on. Um, and and then I just want to take a look back at, the last 50 years with this band and what they've meant to me and what they, I think, have meant to a lot of people. Yes, I have a different beer today. Shameless plug here. Not that I made it myself, but this is my audition for product endorsement. Doesn't have to be these guys. Just if you make beer and you want me to endorse your product, send me beer. I will drink it on camera. Obviously, whatever it is. Okay, so I'm guessing at this point, most of the people who tune in to see what I have to say on my channel may have seen this show also. I do know I was having a discussion in the comments on my favorite Kiss Rips video a couple of days ago with one of you guys and Dan the Man, I believe that was, and I we discussed kind of our feelings about the whole thing, and I told him I was going to go watch it, and he said he was not. I certainly don't hold that against him or blame him in any way. But I think it's kind of I just think it's really interesting how different people approach the same thing. And yeah, that was Dan the Man '03. We were talking about it. Dan says he said he was mourning the end of Kiss, and I told him I was feeling much the same. Then I explained that I haven't seen the final show yet. I plan to just sit alone and watch the whole thing today. That was yesterday, I guess. Yeah. And then I told him I would be filming again to offer my thoughts on the whole event and the future. Um, and then just to take a look back at the whole history of the band, kind of in a semi brief way, of course. Um, and he immediately chimed in and said, I won't be watching the final show. I just don't like this lineup. If anything, I'll be playing the early Kiss albums. And, I agreed. I have extremely mixed feelings about the whole thing. And actually, tuning in on YouTube, at least for free, to watch it, but I needed to see how they ended it. I just had to know, had to. So anyway, I, but Dan, I absolutely understand. I really do. It's hard. That's what she said. It's hard to not watch at least once for me, and it will probably only be once. But I think it's very, very hard to watch if this is not the Kiss you want to remember, not the Kiss that you fell in love with and stuff like that. And on that note, there's some things I want to say before I even really talk too much about the show. And that is, no matter what else comes out of my mouth in this video today, I do feel like it's important to me to say a few things about Kiss. Gosh, I just thank you so much, you guys, for everything. I 50 years, I'm 53 years old right now. And 50 of those years, Kiss has been in existence. And about 46 years or so, they've been my favorite band. And it it just it's remarkable how much joy they've given me, how much fondness I feel for these guys, no matter what I might, hear in the media and the, interviews and stuff like that, and that kind of occasionally strikes me wrong. But either way, these guys have easily, now I've got children, I've got grandchildren, I have a wife, I had parents, cousins, family. But beyond that, these Kiss has literally been sort of the most important thing in my life. Otherwise, like I've literally spent every day of the last 46 or whatever years since I was 6 years old, 47 years, I guess, in some way at some moment thinking about how much I love Kiss. Like it's something that's always there. And that's because no matter what I thought of what they were maybe doing in a particular moment or how they were doing it, they were still that band for me through through all of the crap that any band is going to unleash in a 50-year career. It can't all be, wine and roses, as they say, right? There's going to be some down times where you're not necessarily so crazy. And I'm thinking of, like 1980, Unmasked, certain members leaving or being fired, Peter and Ace specifically, very, very hard moments to take in and wrap your head around at those kind of times. But either way, these guys have been sort of like that one constant in my universe, where, I just like somehow, no matter what, I knew I could still count on them, whether that was current them at that moment, whenever that was or not, didn't matter. I still had like my formative years to go back to and carry with me every second of every day. And I brought in this one item for this video today that I can't think about how much I love this band without thinking of this particular copy of this album. This was my first Kiss record I ever purchased. Well, asked my parents to purchase, right, when I was 6. And I spent more time with this album. Oh my gosh. It still plays. It looks a little loved, and it was. Um, but I just like, I can never, ever replace that experience. It's just so completely magical in my head to this day. All those, all those days and nights I spent in my bedroom. I was an only child. I still am. Um, and I, those were my friends. That was what I wanted to be. And just amazing. All the moments I had in my bedroom listening to that record and thinking about, wow, how awesome those guys are. And they were superheroes to me. And I, no matter what has happened since then, good times or bad times, that is still who they are to me. And I just can't imagine that ever changing. I always have that to hold on to. And I'm sure a lot of you feel that same way. Now, not everybody does. Clearly, there are people who don't have that sort of moment that they cling to willingly. I've been there are like a gazillion videos on YouTube already of the final concert, or people talking about the final concert, or interviews from before and after the final concert and stuff like that. And I've read through the comments on like as many videos as I could stand to that are on YouTube to see what people, what people are saying and how they're feeling, what they're thinking, because that sort of thing, like, it doesn't decide anything for me, but it does matter to me to just see, like, sort of the whole scale, from one end to the other, and how people are feeling about this. And I have seen everything from, the cynical and bitter sounding, it's ever since ever since Ace and Peter weren't in the band anymore, it's just been all about the cash and who cares. They've been, and they should have hung it up on the farewell tour back in 2001, and which I myself have said. And honestly, do I still feel that way? I do. Now, at the same time, I feel that way for my own personal reasons that have, you know, I'm sure a lot of people also feel, but aren't up to us. At the same time, when I see this and I look at the calendar and it's 20 freaking 23, and these guys are still around doing it 50 years later, it, as much as I don't necessarily care for it, and I didn't want to go to one of these shows, and I don't like the way they've handled the whole lineup thing with this lineup, it still makes me happy to be able to watch them on that stage. Paul is 71 and Gene is 74, and they're still able to get up there. And Ace and Peter are both still alive and kicking, and we're all able to complain and moan about them not being invited, which I feel deep down in my heart they should have been, just for this one night, if nothing else. But they're still alive and able to theoretically get up there and do that. And boy, is that great. Like, what are the odds? I mean, nobody died. Nobody had an overdose or, a massive heart attack from all the cocaine they were taking back in the 80s. Or, I mean, they're still around, they're still able and willing. And I know this video is going to be a big ramble, and I'm sorry for that. I kind of feel like Gene, if you've seen the interview with Gene backstage right after they got off the stage on December 2nd, and before he made it to the dressing room to get out of his gear, he stopped and he gave an interview, and he talked to Nick and Sophie after the show and talked about I mean, the guy got up and did that show with a freaking kidney stone at the tip of his schmeckle, as he said. And boy, is that amazing that he was able to do that. And Paul just had the flu or pneumonia or whatever it was, and said he felt like his time might be up. And like, thank God it wasn't. Thank God they were able to get up and do the final shows. It's just amazing how much they've given and how much they've taken. But, to be fair, but like, okay, before I ramble anymore, let's get specific and let's talk about the set list, because I've seen some people complain about the set list, as they always do, as I sometimes do myself, about the set list for the last, I don't know, 25 years or something, if not more. But let's go over this and we'll discuss that. They open with Detroit Rock City. It's Detroit Rock City, Shout It Out Loud, Deuce, War Machine, Heaven's on Fire, I Love It Loud, Say Yeah, which I have to say, I was kind of glad that they had in the set. I expected if they were going to do anything from Sonic Turd, it was going to be modern day Delilah. I was glad it was Say Yeah instead. And I'll get to the reasons for that in a little while. I'm not quite ready for that yet. And then Cold Gin, Lick It Up, Calling Dr. Love, Making Love, which was nice. Psycho Circus, 100,000 Years. Those were both kind of cut down severely and had the drum solo in between. And then God of Thunder, Love Gun, I Was Made for Loving You, and Black Diamond. And then they went off the stage, came back on and did their encore, which wound up being Beth, Do You Love Me? Yes. And Rock and Roll All Night. It's a really pretty good set list, honestly. I mean, if you're gonna be Kiss and you're gonna be putting on a final show, I think a lot of those songs do have to be there. I mean, there's just no way around it. Now, that said, what I really like, I've been trying to imagine, like, for months and months, maybe, a couple of years now, I guess. What would I want it to be like if I was one of these guys and I was in Kiss and I knew this was the last time we're ever going to go out on tour? Or more specifically, on December 2nd, this is the last time we're ever going to be on that stage together like this. And I have to say, if it was me, I think there's a lot of missed opportunity here. That is one of the things that I was a little disappointed about. Not a lot disappointed. I mean, the fact that they're still up there, the fact that they're still enjoying it to this point enough to keep doing it. And yes, I know money, whatever, but and that's not wrong. I won't tell anybody they're wrong for thinking that, because they're not. But I don't think that's honestly it. I mean, that's true, but that's not the only truth. I do think they kept doing it because they didn't want to stop because they love it. Um, and I mean, what would I have done differently if I had to say, if I was one of them and had a say in it? Like the whole, I mean, all along, I would have done this, like through the all through the 2000s, 2010s, now the 2020s. But like on this this end of the road tour, pardon me, I think I would have challenged the guys, the other guys in the band. Hey, look, we're getting ready to go do this. It's going to last at least a couple of years. But what I want to do is we'll put together the standard Kiss set list that we've been performing all these decades now, because we got to do Detroit Rock City and Deuce and God of Thunder and this and that and the other. Black Diamond's got to be there. Love Gun's got to be there. All of those things. But I want to challenge you guys. We're gonna go back every single show before the show, like maybe a day before the show, because we're not doing a lot of back to backs or anything. But we're going to get together and we're going to, if we don't all remember it, we're going to relearn one of the more obscure songs that we don't usually ever play live or have never played live. And every single show, we're going to have a different song in the set list at the same point. Like, song number 10 or whatever you want it to be, or one of the encores. You're going to come out and you're going to play a song that you just relearned like the day before or whatever, like Mr. Speed or, Getaway or obscure shit like that, all the way, or, just Mainline. All of those are something off 80s albums. I mean, you got Tommy and Eric in the band now. You can most certainly play some of the more complex 80s tunes that maybe you weren't feeling too confident about Ace and Peter being able to play on the reunion tour or the farewell tour or something like that. And I'm not knocking Ace and Peter's musicianship. I'm just saying, like, Tommy and Eric are both a little younger. It's a little more their style. Those 80s songs, they were both in 80s, came up in 80s bands, and just really, really solid musicianship. So I think that would have been cool. Like every night, a song that we haven't played in 20, 30 years or never played live. And it'll just give everybody a little treat, a little chance to, I mean, and people who are just loaded and want to be like a Kiss head slash deadhead and just follow us on the whole tour, every night they're going to get to hear one of those songs that they haven't heard before live. And what a treat, just a nice little treat. And it'll be more fun for people to go to multiple shows. You don't want to go to multiple shows on the same tour and hear the exact same set list every time you go. Oh God, no. So I think they could have done that. That's like number one. No, that's number two. Number one is the final show. You've got to organize a chance for former members of the band to come out and take a bow at least. And I mean everyone who's still capable. Just tell them, look, we're not going to pay you to do this. But if you want to come out at the final show, we're going to stop after, so many songs or whatever. And you can come out and we'll talk about, hey, we got some members of the family here. tonight. And then out comes Ace and Peter and Bruce and maybe even Vinny and, you know, something like that. I How they didn't extend that honest, sincere invitation is absolutely beyond me. And as much as I appreciate and love these guys for sticking around and doing this because they still loved it, I resent them for not doing that. I'm absolutely positive Ace and Peter and Bruce especially would have accepted that invitation. And maybe Vinny would have too. You don't have to hand him a microphone and let him talk. I mean, if you want, when Vinny comes out, take the microphone off the stand, hold it in your hand, Paul and Gene, so he can't get to it. All he can do is wave and take a bow and smile and shake your hand or whatever, and then he walks off the stage. But at least you've acknowledged it. And them not, like, at no point in this concert did they specifically address the previous members of the band. None. I remember during Do You Love Me, they showed some old clips. I remember that was my absolute favorite thing about the farewell tour shows that I saw. I saw them in Memphis. I saw them in Chicago. And the Memphis show, I don't remember a whole lot about because one of my friends kept buying me drinks and I wasn't asking for them. And he just kept buying them and buying them and buying them. And handed them to me. And I was happy and excited. And I just was like so pumped up. And he'd hand them to me and I'd swig them. And my other friends were like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to be passed out. And I remember maybe the first couple of songs from that show, and I didn't remember a single one after that because I was hammered. I don't even remember what kind of drinks these were. I don't think they were beers, but maybe they were. Anyway, so like I get home and a couple of days later I'm thinking about it and I'm going online and I'm like, man, where's that tour going again that's close enough I can go so I can actually see and enjoy and remember the whole show. Like I had to do that. But anyway, like one of the big moments of that tour, for me at least, that show was Do You Love Me? Because they showed this footage of the old band, like photographs. And Ace and Peter are on the stage at those shows with them. So it was easy enough. You're showing photos from the 70s Kiss during Do You Love Me? And it was the most touching, wonderful 3 minutes of that show for me because it just meant the world to me getting to see that while they're up there on that stage and they're playing maybe my favorite Kiss song now. It was never my favorite Kiss song in the 70s or 80s or 90s or whatever, but it is now. I just absolutely love it. And I love the way they played it live on that tour and ever since. And boy, that was fun for me. Just incredible. Really nostalgic. And actually, I think brought tears to my eyes briefly. I wouldn't have traded that. That is the memory, the main memory I take away from that farewell tour is that song and how they presented it. It was absolute perfection. Well, they should have done that at this, even if you don't want to do it every night of the tour, the end of the road tour, you could have done it this last show. You're in New York, Madison Square Garden. Paul talks about it in the show on the stage about how that was the place he always dreamed about playing, and their last show was there. And that would have been an absolutely perfect time to say, and I wasn't the only one who felt that way. and out come Ace and Peter. And the crowd would have just lost their mind. And then, like, I'm wanting to go back and rewatch the show several times instead of just getting through it once. And now, what I will tell you about this tour, I didn't go see it, like I said, but from watching this show on YouTube, one, Paul's voice was like it's been since basically 2008, 2000, whatever. And I was not thrilled with how often he keeps, I don't understand. Like, you can go online and you can watch any Kiss show from any city, from any tour they've done since I guess, the Sonic Boom tour. And you can watch and listen to Paul's voice and how shredded it still sounds. And yet, he is still trying to do all the really high pitched vocal acrobatics that I used to love so much in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but that he simply should not be attempting anymore. It is painful to listen to. It's got to be painful to do. And yes, I understand this was the last show ever, last tour ever, supposedly. So, and I do believe that it is. But he wanted to leave it all out there. And my God, dude, 1980s or 90s Paul, if he could have heard his voice in this era, would have sworn he would never do that because he had too much pride to sing like that and sound like that. And I've been saying for years, since his voice basically got destroyed, um, dude, just do your vocals like you did in the 70s on the original classic Kiss albums. They weren't like, I mean, if you've watched any of my album reviews, you've heard me talk about it, like how his voice changed and got so much higher and more powerful somewhere around 1982, 83, and just kept developing from there and getting more and more spectacular. And it lasted all the way through his solo Live to Win tour that he did for his solo album. That was 2006. And then the next time we heard him, 2008, Sonic Boom, and oh my God, what happened? Well, if you watched that Paul Stanley One Live Night, I think it's called. I've got it on DVD over here. But it's the concert, the live show that he did on that solo tour. I mean, it's really no wonder because that solo tour, that may be one of the most spectacular vocal performances I've ever witnessed. And just incredible. But I also think it was the place where his voice got shredded, like something broke maybe at the end of that tour. I don't know. And it's never been the same. So why is he still, like, even at one point he was doing a stage rap and I was like, dude, what are you thinking? Because he's still, you know how in the 90s, 80s and 90s and 2000 his stage raps were constantly up in that upper register, like he just forgot how to talk the way he did on Kiss Alive during those stage raps, like where he's just like, you know, when you're down in the dumps, and now it's all got to be, we're down in the dumps. I mean, I can't even do it, but why is he still trying to do that? It sucks. It sounds like shit. I know he has access sometimes to taped audio from these shows. He's got to be able to go back and hear that. Why would you continue to do that? Oh my God, please. I mean, I guess now he will stop, but he should have 20 some years ago. Crap. Anyway, that was a big issue for me when I was watching the show yesterday. Huge issue. Another thing that I really was hoping would be a little different. There was a point toward the end of the show where Paul walked over to Gene before one of Gene's songs and pointed at him, get the rile up the crowd and get them chanting Gene, Gene, Gene. And that was so nice. And they just seemed to kind of look at each other for a minute and know, and I just like, I wanted to just see them look at each other for just a second and say, hey, we did this. And it looked like they were this close to doing it, but it didn't quite happen. And it really should have happened. But maybe they wanted to save that and have that moment together backstage after the show. I'd like to think that at some point that conversation took place. Look at what we did. Just look at what we did. But sharing that with people like me and people like you, that would have been so nice. It really would have. I'm saying all this stuff and I'm not mad and I'm not really complaining. And I'm happy for these guys right now. I'm happy for us. However, many of us don't quite feel satisfied with how this worked out in the end, maybe. It's not that I'm disappointed in what it was. It's that I'm disappointed in what I think it could have been and maybe should have been. But that said, it's really pretty spectacular. Other than the things that I've kind of specifically mentioned, it really is pretty spectacular. And I will definitely tell you this. I had no desire to go see this tour. I probably still would have had I really just had an obviously good opportunity to do so. But this, I do just want to mention, man, what a freaking show. This stage set and all the pyro and those big platforms that just move up and down and they change and they've got all kinds of video capability and light capability built into them. This stage show and then the light stuff that's around under the drum riser and goes all the way kind of across this stuff right here. Yeah, all these. And then all the different flames and my God, what a stage show. Just incredible. They certainly did a good job of reminding everybody one last time you've never seen another live stage show like the one we give you. And boy, I was like mesmerized by that until Paul would shriek again and take me out of the moment. But that stage is just remarkable. And I do kind of wish I could have seen them in a huge arena doing that. Wow. I'm guessing that this very last show, they probably had a certain amount of pyro like stored up and ready to go. And this last show, they said, you know what? Let's just unload. We can't take it back home with us. What are we going to do? Let's just let it all go. I don't know if that's the case or if it was like this every night. There's several of these shows on YouTube that I'm gonna have to sample one or two of them at least to see if the pyro was kind of comparable to this, but just amazing, amazing, amazing stage show. What else would I have done different? Eric Singer should not be sitting at a piano that we all know he's not truly playing and singing Beth at any point. That's ridiculous. He's got songs from Sonic Boom and Monster that he could have done. You could have had him do one of Peter's older, heavier songs like Hooligan or Strange Ways or Mainline Again. They didn't have Tommy sing anything at this show, which really kind of surprised me a lot. I know Tommy was doing Shock Me previously. I don't know, what he's been doing at all of these shows on this tour, but I'm pretty sure Shock Me was one of them. And Tommy didn't sing lead on anything. And I wonder why that was. I'm not exactly sure, but that struck me as a little weird. Now, a lot of you are probably just like, good, good. We didn't want him to. But again, just surprised by it. So I wish that they would not have had Eric sing that song. Everybody knows he's faking the piano, by the way. Everybody knows that. Why even bother yourselves with bringing the prop out and putting it on the middle of the stage so he can do that again for no reason whatsoever? When Peter used to just come out with a microphone and a stool and some roses and sing it by himself, and everybody knew the orchestra parts were taped and the piano was taped and nobody cared. And that was in the 70s. You could still do that today. Why not? Right? I mean, to have him sit behind the piano is just the most ridiculously stupid waste of time. And you would have been much better off. I know. Beth is one of the biggest songs in the catalog, charts wise, but come on, guys. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody. And Tommy too. Tommy has two songs, one on Sonic Boom, one on Monster, that I really like. I really like both of those songs. I don't like Tommy being Ace, obviously, but I like both of those songs, and I'd much rather hear Tommy sing one of those, either one of those, than do Shock Me. And I would have rather you gave Tommy a song than make me listen to Paul's vocals on another song for this show. That would have been nice. Let's go ahead, and I think it's time now to go ahead and address the avatar, the Kiss avatar thing at the very end that they showed. I've watched the videos, the behind the scenes videos of all the making of the avatars and all that bullshit. I just think that's maybe, I've got to see what they do with it. I really do. Do I resent the fact that they want to immortalize themselves as those characters and live on forever? No, of course. I think all people have that urge to be immortal. That's why most of us have children, like it's our only hope at continuing after we die, right? But what the is this going to lead to is what I want to know. And like, we don't. That's the problem. I've seen a lot of people criticizing it and calling it stupid and worthless and trash, and I'll never pay to see that. And I don't blame you for that, but like, I need some more answers to those kind of questions. Like, what is it going to be exactly? Is it going to be like these Kiss avatars having a Las Vegas residency? Is it going to be, I've heard from the behind the scenes videos that you can have Kiss tour 2 or 3 cities at once, and and like it won't have to be us as we get even older than we already are. But these guys can go out and do it forever, and it'll be the most spectacular show because they can fly and they can, Gene can have flames in his eyes and all this, and Oh my God, it's just so, it's ridiculous. That's all I can think of to call it. I just, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and let's just take a look back real quick. I just want to mention some stuff before I say goodbye in this video. God, I've been feeling so nostalgic about this whole thing. I just overall, I think what I want to say is I feel like Dan the Man, what this watching this final show did for me, and even just knowing it was happening, is it made me want to go back to my favorite moments in history and enjoy those again. That's what it did. So what are some of those moments? Highlights for me? Well, okay, so obviously the debut album Through Love Gun and Alive 2 and Double Platinum and the solo albums. All of that is a huge highlight for me. That is my Kiss. Other highlights for me, the first time I heard Creatures of the Night in 82, 83, whatever it was that I heard it. The first time I heard Lick It Up and saw the Lick It Up video on television on like Friday night videos or whatever it was. The first time I walked up and saw that Lick It Up no makeup album cover in Walmart, Revenge. Clearly the reunion tour and the farewell tour. Psycho Circus coming out as an album and me actually being stupid enough to believe it was an original Kiss album again, finally, and being just like thrilled by that and loving it until, like 2000, I don't know, 2012 or something when I found out it wasn't. And then being like, well, that sucks, but I still like the album. And then from there, I think my last two really big highlights of, oh, wait, one I forgot, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park on television when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9, whatever it was. And just sitting there and watching that and being absolutely mesmerized, well, at least for the scenes Kiss actually appeared in. All that other stuff with the bad guy and Devereaux and, the bikers in the amusement park getting into trouble and stuff. Who cared? But man, Kiss on my TV being superheroes, that was freaking cool. Okay, so the other two, after all of that, I've got to say the Kissology DVDs. Oh my gosh. Wow. Are those awesome? I will be going back and spending more time with those now. I've been sufficiently inspired to do that for sure. And also the Australian Kiss Symphony show in 2003. Wow, do I love that show. I've got the DVD, I've got the audio from the DVD, which I burned onto CD, 2 CDs, and I just absolutely love them both. I love listening to those versions of the songs. I love watching them especially. And just blew my mind how great that was. Absolutely loved it. And then last but not least, being able to see them twice a year before that or two on the farewell tour in Chicago, which I remember all of, and I went to with one of my best buds. And we just, wow, did we love that show? That was so great to see. And, I feel like this goodbye. I'm a Gemini, and if you know what that means, whether you believe in it or not, it means I'm of two minds about everything. I can see both sides. And right now, I'm feeling like wow, it's really over. And that's got me kind of messed up in the head a little bit and sad and nostalgic feeling. And I just like, I don't know how to live in a world that doesn't have Kiss wandering around touring in it somewhere. And I'm not sure how to adjust to that now. And also, at the other side, I don't feel like anything has ended. And Paul and Gene have sort of both said as much, that they're still going to continue to do Kiss things going forward. They're just not touring anymore. If that's the case, okay, that's cool. I kind of support that idea. I mean, like, I thought they should have done that a couple of decades sooner, but awesome, do it now. That's fine. I would love it if they would go into the studio, take their time, and really seriously concentrate on putting together one more fantastic album along the lines of, one of the albums from the 70s, or Lick It Up, or Creatures, or Revenge, or something like that. And I know Paul can't sing, and there's nothing he can do about that, but he's going to sing anyway. Just sing lower, like on the first three or four or five or six albums, please. And then I would go out and I would buy that. Absolutely, I would. Um, I don't think they're going to do that at all. I think it's going to be more like whatever this Avatar bullshit turns out to be, which I don't care about at all. I'm not gonna watch that crap. I mean, if you wanted to make like a Kiss superhero movie, like you did with the comic books back in the day, and that's how you did it, I think it's going to be stupid, but I might watch it. I don't know. Anyway, I just really, I'm not happy with everything these guys have ever done, but I do have to say, I've never stopped feeling like I wish they would do something else that I could give them my money to have. Whether I like it or not, once I get it, it just seems to make me happy giving these guys my money. And I know I am not the only one who could say that, you know? And I just, no matter whether they've disappointed me at times or not, or how severely I've been disappointed, I just love them. I I care about these guys. I do. And I want them to be happy. I want them, to have whatever's best for them and just enjoy the rest of their lives and know how much they meant to all of us. No other band ever could have done for me in my life what Kiss has. It simply isn't possible. And yes, I loved Motley Crue. I've said in some of my Motley Crue videos that they're also my favorite band, and they are. That is true. But it's like a totally separate sort of favorite band thing. If it's not going to be Kiss, it's going to be Motley Crue. It is Kiss. It is Motley Crue too. But it's it's just it's Kiss. And speaking of that, I will not, my Kiss videos will not be stopping here. There's no chance that that's ever going to be the case. There's so many different discussions to have about history beyond just what you thought of this, what you thought of that, you know. Okay, so yeah, there's going to be tons more Kiss videos on this channel. I there will be other stuff too in between here and there, but yeah, I want to get in like a lot more specific with my Kiss discussions now, and that's what I plan to do. I appreciate you guys tuning in if you did. There were so many other things I wanted to say here, and I've just kind of drawn a blank now on some of them. But I know I'll think of them again. And when I do, I'll probably show back up to try to get your feedback on them too. Because I always wonder, am I the only one who feels that way? I wonder, am I? I don't know. I don't can't imagine I am, but all right. Let me know, please, in the comments if you watched the last show, whether you went to it in person or you did the pay-per-view or you just watched it like me a day or two later on YouTube. What did you think? Were your opinions a lot different than mine, or maybe just a little different, or maybe the same, or you know, what what do you think you're going to miss the most about still having Kiss around after all these years? What kind of Kiss product would you still like to see released to the marketplace so you could buy it? I think for me, I do have a bit of a, this is my t-shirt from the farewell tour, of course. Legends never die is what it says on the back. And that's why I chose to wear this today for this discussion. But I'm a bit of a Kiss t-shirt addict, although I do control that addiction quite well nowadays, but because I don't want to, like, you know, at some point I'm going to die and I don't want my remaining family to have to deal with all that shit. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, Hard Rockers. I'll talk to you next about something. I don't know what. That'll depend. But all right. You guys let me know what other Kiss videos you'd like to see in the comments below this, if you don't mind. If you've got something that you're like, boy, I wish he would do this, I'd be happy to consider almost anything. All right. Out of here. Later.